Hello and welcome to the Enchanted Butterfly Garden podcast. Introducing your host, the Goddess Angel. Let's go! Hello and welcome back to my show. Today we're going to talk about how to protect yourself with nature and how to create a safe place for ourselves when we feel scared or anxious. But first, let's do a tarot reading and take a look around my garden. For today's tarot reading, we're going to be using the Light Seers Tarot deck. This is one of my favorite decks because of the artwork. I know I say that a lot about most of the decks that I have because I do appreciate art a lot. But this deck specifically has some really in-depth drawings that allow you to really feel how the creator felt when they made this deck. From this deck, the card that we pulled is the Wheel. The Wheel of Fortune is in the Major Arcana. It's a really interesting card because it symbolizes the constant change of things and how things don't always go the same way all the time. They must change. It also symbolizes that life is made up of both good and bad times. So when you have good moments in your life, make sure that you enjoy them to the fullest, because for what goes up must come down. But it's also the opposite. So when you're in a situation where you might not be feeling like it's a great time in your life, then you know that there is the good swing coming back around. So you don't have to stay stuck in the mentality of it's always going to be this bad. The second deck that we're going to be using is the Spirit of the Animal Oracle deck. I really like this deck because I'm obsessed with insects, and there's a lot of insects in here. So today we are drawing the Dragon card, which is supernatural. You are the ancient wise sage. You can always shapeshift at will. Mastery is your destiny. Rise with dignity. So this is a great pair of cards. You have the Wheel of Fortune and you have the Dragon. So when you know that the wheel is going in the positive direction and you're in that upswing of life, then you can take that supernatural ability and rise with it. It gives you the ability to take control of what you need to take control of. This is a great pair of cards to get for today's episode because we're talking about grounding ourselves, and you definitely need to be able to do that in order to get the most out of this duo of cards. Well, that was a pretty good tarot reading for today. So let's move on to looking around what's going on in my garden this week. This week in my garden, I have really exciting things happening. Not only did I have my first crop of microgreens grow, but I was able to harvest them and eat them. And I put them on my black bean burger the other day, and it was delicious. I definitely posted pictures on social media, so you have to check those out. They were so delicious and also very nutritious. Did you know that microgreens have more of certain nutrients than their mature plant version? And the flavor is definitely wonderful. I also got these really awesome grow lights that clip right onto my plant stand, and they're bendable, so you can place them like just how you want to. My plants love it already, and now they can do what they do best and stop climbing for the window and actually grow. I have some really great new things coming for the garden, so I will definitely be posting pictures on social media this week. Now let's get to the really good stuff. Let's talk about protection. Why do we need protection, and how does it help us to heal? Protecting ourselves is the first way that we can show that we love ourselves. When you place protection on yourself, then it allows your brain to realize that boundaries are okay. And sometimes we have to tell ourselves that because what you allow in your life, your brain sees, and then it doesn't know how to put up boundaries. It doesn't know that that's okay. But boundaries are the first step to making sure that the past doesn't repeat itself. That's why we have boundaries. We find these boundaries sometimes because of experiences that we've gone through that changed our lives in a certain way. Sometimes those boundaries could be good and sometimes they could be bad. Sometimes you can place boundaries there for protection, but sometimes you can place boundaries so that you know that if you place this boundary, something good will happen. And that's one side of the coin. But once we realize that there's a pattern of something that we don't like and we don't want in our lives, then we can place a boundary in front of us so that we don't have to endure something that isn't meant for us and our highest good. These boundaries are there to protect us from evil, whether that be in spirit or in person. Protection's so important for so many reasons, but if you're doing any work with spirits, protection is a must. There are many forms of protection. You can protect yourself with weapons, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. It's more of a protection of the spirit and protection from harm, but not necessarily self-defense in terms of using weapons besides those of the spiritual nature. I'm going to give you some tools that will help you protect yourself, but without hurting others, and that's the difference. First, we have to protect ourselves by removing negativity from our thought processes. We want to protect ourselves from words first, and that starts with us. If you watched my previous episode about talking to yourself, then you know that the words that you say to yourself are the ones that you have to change first before those of the words of the people around you can change after that. But if you don't start being nice to yourself first, then other people can't be nice to you because they don't know how. They see what you are doing to yourself, and that's how they treat you because that's what you're accepting. And that's a super important step. Another way to remove negativity from you is to burn sage. This is something that I do on a regular basis to cleanse the space around me and make it new. It smells amazing in my opinion, and I always feel lighter when I'm done. Like when Harry Potter eats the chocolate after the Dementor gets him, that's how I feel when I burn sage. Another way to protect yourself is to make sure you're grounded. When you ground yourself, you align yourself with a higher purpose, and that's a huge thing. Because grounding yourself isn't hard, you just have to be in tune with yourself. I'm going to teach you how to do it, and my favorite way to ground myself is in nature. But that's my favorite way to do most things because I love nature. Your backyard can be considered nature. But if you can't get into real nature, then you can do the best you can to picture the best parts of nature that you've seen in your head and pretend. It works the same way if you really dig into your imagination. So what you'll do is go outside wherever you are and take off your shoes, stick your feet in the dirt, close your eyes, and imagine yourself becoming one with nature. Imagine growing roots out of your feet and into the earth, and that's how close you are to the earth. Build that connection with the divine power. Keep doing this exercise and imagine being one with earth for as long as possible and really feel how that feels for you and see what that looks like in your mind. This is aligning you with Mother Earth and your higher self. But really feel those roots and picture them as your foundation for peace and protection. Then you'll slowly come back and take a deep breath and open your eyes. Now that's how you ground. Now that you know how to ground yourself, and you learned a little bit about earthing, because earthing is a little bit different than grounding. You can ground anywhere. I just like to combine it with earthing because I feel like it makes it 2 in 1. And you know how I like those things that have multi-purposes. So earthing is when you connect with nature by being barefoot. I like to put my feet in nature. It makes that genuine connection to the universe. I love doing this when I hike because it makes you feel so much closer to the scenery. And it makes you stop and smell the roses because you can't really go that fast when you are barefoot in a place you don't know. And of course, I learned this the hard way as usual. These are both very good ways to protect yourself because when you align with your higher purpose, the negative things around you will fall away. That includes spiritual attacks, negative energy. All those negative things around you will start to fall away once you align with that higher purpose. And to start that process, you have to ground yourself. And that's a very important step. Another way you can protect yourself is with crystals. And as a crystal healer, I have seen the power in these tiny little rocks and what they can do. One of my favorites to use for protection is obsidian. It's made when lava meets water and cools extremely quickly. It looks like glass, and please be careful, especially if you get these raw. A lot of people like tumbled stones and smooth stones, but I like to buy raw stones because I feel like they come straight from the earth that way, and it makes me feel a little bit more connected to them. That's just my personal opinion. I like tumble stones as well. I just feel more of a connection with the ones that are raw. But I did just get some raw obsidian, and there was some pieces of it that may have broken off in the bottom of the bag, and apparently they spilled on the floor, and I was walking and a little piece got stuck in my foot. So that crystal really said, hey, you need protection, I'm coming with you. So be careful with those ones. I've had very good experiences with those crystals since I got them. And I've only had them a few days, but that feeling, I really just feel connected to them. Another crystal you can use is amethyst for protection, and let me tell you something. This crystal is amazing for everything. It was one of the first crystals I ever purchased, and one that I will never be without again. It has a great energy to it, and it's just a happy little crystal. You can even take it in the bath with you and put some lavender in there. It's a relaxing time, but that's for another episode. As for protection, this crystal does the job. I even keep one in my car because I have anxiety from a car accident that happened a while back. So it really helps me get through those anxious moments. Both of these crystals are very good and strong protection crystals. They not only protect you physically, but also spiritually from spiritual attacks and evil eye. But I absolutely love crystals to become a form of protection for me. Now that we've learned a few ways to protect ourselves, let's use those to create a safe space for us to stay. Now that you've learned how to ground yourself using the same technique, I want you to close your eyes and picture a beautiful white, energizing light coming up from the roots and forming a bubble around you to create the happiest and safest space you can possibly imagine. Now, this is part of it's the start to creating your enchanted butterfly garden, so to speak. So hold on to this image. But for now, I want you to immerse yourself in that white light and let it fill you completely. Bring extra, because there's no limit on how much white light you can imagine into existence, and let it hold you and protect you wherever you go. Now, when you open your eyes, keep that space in a corner of your mind so that when something feels off or you get that anxiety pit in your stomach, you can go to this corner of your world and let it fill you with peace and warmth. It's really relaxing and refreshing to do. The last thing I'm going to help you protect yourself from is in the real world. Okay, and that's those dang mosquitoes. I know you're getting bit with me, because I know I cannot be the only one getting bit by mosquitoes already. I already discussed citronella in another episode, but how about lavender? If you have essential oils lying around, grab the lavender and rub some on you. You can use a carrier oil. It's always recommended. I use it just natural. I like to just put some in my hand and rub it on my legs because it really repels the mosquitoes, but it also helps with that itch. So if you do get bit, then you're like doubly protected. Use it because it will save you from the mosquitoes. You can also add a lavender plant to your garden to keep them away on a bigger scale. I think I'm going to do both this year because I'm really getting bit a lot. Okay, but now for some fun. This episode, our fun, we're going to tell some jokes because I am a sucker for dad jokes, and if you throw in some gardening, it actually can get pretty funny. So here we go. When does a gardener dance? When somebody drops a beat. Okay, one more. What do you call an angry carrot? A steamed veggie. Okay, guys, I hope you got some value from this episode. Please follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Tumblr. Check out my website at www.theenchantedbutterflygarden.com. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I look forward to listening for you next time.